All right, welcome back to the Dynasty Football Key. All right, let's get into it. Hey, week 3, we're here, and I've got the rankings ready. Hey, if you guys got some start sit questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I appreciate it. And yeah, we're here. We got injuries news coming out right now at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central. So, hey, don't let me miss anything, guys. Help me out, but let's go ahead and get started. For the running back spot, and just to skip ahead a little bit, hey, Carson Steele, if you got him, go ahead and play him. All right, right now we don't know what exactly he's gonna do, but I think you got to lean. This is the running back for the Chiefs. They are used to doing everything they can to, kind of defer that draft capital ever since the Clyde Edwards-Helaire first round pick. They've been good at getting these guys later, and everything we've been hearing from Steele is good. So if you got Steele, if you've got Cam Akers, these are guys who recently been elevated to RB1 status this week. So I could see them going even in the top 12 when it's all said and done after this week. So, really it's just because a lot of the injuries around them. So let's go ahead and get these guys in the lineup. But let me know if you got any specific questions, whether it's them versus another running back or them versus some receivers, something like that. And yeah, so we'll go straight from the beginning. And look, Devon Chan feeling really good about what he did last week. In the offseason, I had some bold predictions that he had a shot to be RB1. And with the Tua injury, we actually saw them continue to lean on Chan. And actually, guys, I mean, Chan, this guy is leading the Dolphins in touches just overall in general. So, it's not even close. He's just getting the ball so much, 29 touches this past week. So I think regardless of who the quarterback is, they're going to make sure to get Chan the ball. Bijan Robinson, look, we absolutely want Bijan Robinson to get all the workload and just get all the fantasy points. We just haven't seen it quite yet. This is a matchup where they're going to need to play catch up probably. We'll see. There's a lot of injuries to the Chiefs side of things. So I think Bijan has everything he needs to be a successful running back in this league. So we're going to throw Bijan in the lineup. But right behind him, Alvin Kamara has been playing better. And this New Orleans Saints team can no longer be slept on. So getting Kamara in my lineups, I mean, no matter what, but yeah, this should be good matchup for these guys. Philly's missing AJ Brown, so there's actually a chance that the Saints could have a lead in this game, and that'll be more usage for Alvin Kamara. Because remember, they're down to Kendra Miller. It's really just the two running backs there, so they do have to use him. They're not really looking to preserve him right now at this point in the season. They want to build on that momentum that they've got. So at 4, none other than Jordan Mason. This guy has been a revelation this season, so it's good to see him just continue to play well. But we've got no George Kittle, no Debo Samuel. It's going to be him and Brandon Ayuk, pretty much the main two guys that they're going to be leaning on. Sure, there's a Juwan Jennings, but I think Purdy's going to have to rely on the run game here in this spot. And then at 5, I've got Saquon Barkley going up against New Orleans. Barkley was one missed catch from potentially being the RB1 last week. So don't have too much of a sour taste in our mouths from just that drop ball that lost him the game. He can absolutely go out here and be the RB1 this week. And then Jonathan Taylor, this is actually a tough matchup. Chicago's looked like a very formidable defense, and he's always going to have the threat of an Anthony Richardson touchdown being vultured. So something we got to watch for, right? So I'm still going to play Taylor. This guy has the capability to be workhorse back. So we're going to rock with Taylor here. And then James Cook, he was in that RB2 conversation last week as far as number 2 overall because he really did ball out in that same game with the Devon Chan. So going back with Cook, he really has that threat of getting vultured by Josh Allen. But liking what we're seeing from him this season so far. So we're gonna rock with Cook here. Jameer Gibbs, unfortunately, he's splitting that workload with David Montgomery. But I see one of these games he can just go off on the PPR side of things, just getting a ton of catches. So Jahmyr Gibbs here at 8. Josh Jacobs last week got 32 carries. That is crazy. So I'm thinking, yeah, Josh Jacobs, get him in our lineups. This is actually what I was expecting to happen before the season started. I was thinking Josh Jacobs would just get more of the workload. And in week one, it was more of a pass attack. And, it looks like they are good there. But at the same time, they brought in Jacobs because he was more durable than Aaron Jones and because they felt like that could really add to what they're doing. So Josh Jacobs, they're going to have to rely on this guy. And yeah, I mean, he's just really teed up in a good spot here to at least get a lot of touches. We'll see if they're quality touches or not. But I mean, just look at this. See if I can pull it up here for you guys. Josh Jacobs, 32 attempts, and that's not even factoring in the passes being thrown his way. Malik Willis isn't really being asked to do too much, so he's dumping some stuff off here. But 32 carries, you just really can't ignore it. It's just hard to ignore this guy. So I'm gonna have Josh Jacobs here at this spot at the 9 spot, and then Derrick Henry at 10 going up against Dallas. Dallas doesn't have an amazing run stopping defense. They're good on the edge. So kind of worried, honestly, that Henry or Lamar can get some stuff up the middle. I don't love like Lamar running through the middle just for his own safety, but that's somewhere that they can exploit is just running up the gut. It might be hard to stop some goal line work there. So Henry, he's just in a prime spot to, uh, you know, get at least one touchdown this game, I think. And then Zach Charbonnet, he's got the full workload to himself. And which is kind of the opposite to Henry because the Ravens did just sign Justice Hill to a contract extension, I believe, a couple days ago. So you can see that there was going to be more of a split there. But Charbonnet doesn't have Kenneth Walker in town right now. So him versus Miami, I expect Charbonnet potentially to be in a positive game script where he can go out there and just dominate the carries. And then J.K. Dobbins, honestly, should be higher, but at least I've got him here in the top 12. I love what we've been seeing from him and his comeback story. So there we go. That's the top 12 for the running backs. And then we'll go on to 13, James Conner. We've got him going up against the Lions here. So that'll be going to see. And then we've got Kyron Williams. And that's going to be a tough one. Their whole team is injured, but the 49ers, they're injured as well. So I still expect this to be a good little coaching battle. They're kind of in the same spot with the injuries. I just ultimately expect the Rams to be losing. So it's not going to be a positive game script for Kyron. So we'll go with him at 14. But, coming into the season, we absolutely thought he would be in a much better spot. So it's kind of unfortunate how this is panning out for the for the Rams team here, but that's okay. It happens, and we'll see these guys bounce back. And then at 15, I mean, look at what Tony Pollard's been doing. He had a good game last week. 17 carries. Yeah, that's pretty high for Pollard, and 62 yards. He's getting the pass catching work as well. It's less of Tajay Spears than I might have expected. So I'm sliding in Tony Pollard to round out my top 15, and that's over Travis Etienne because Pollard's been scoring more than Travis Etienne, just by a little bit. They're missing an Evan Ingram on the Jags, and we just haven't seen much from Christian Kirk. I don't know what's going on with this offense, but it just hasn't been able to get going. And even though Buffalo has some injuries on defense, I just believe in this Buffalo team a little bit more. And if Buffalo is winning, I don't think this will be a positive game script for Etienne either. And then we've got David Montgomery, like I mentioned with Jahmyr Gibbs. They are liable to have the exact same point total at the end of a week. Good offense, but they're just splitting the workload there. So I could actually see Brian Robinson Jr. being ahead of him because he's quietly been having a pretty good season. 17 attempts last week for 133 yards. I mean, 7.8 yards per carry. Really good for Brian Robinson. And it helps sometimes to have that rushing quarterback, that's just distracting the defense. If you can break away and get off, like, yeah, you may still get vulture for touchdowns, but you're still able to just be open and not have people stacking the box against you. So this should be a good one. Still expecting it to be a negative game script for Brian Robinson. That's you'll see on the next page here. I've got Austin Eckler up there just for that reason. But at 19, I've got Cam Akers. So this guy's going to get the start. We've got both Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce out this week. So wheels up for Cam Akers. Now it's just a matter of, is he healthy? But everything I saw quotes directly from him, he said he didn't got to get ready. He stays ready. So he's sounding like he's back. And from what we saw in the preseason, I was happy about what I saw from him. So it could be another great success story for a comeback like J.K. Dobbins. Let's see if Akers can take advantage of this opportunity this week. And it does sound like maybe Mixon's gone next week as well. All right, at 20, we've got Aaron Jones. He's got a healthy designation right now, as the last time I checked. Looks like I got a comment here. Brian Thomas Jr., Cam Akers, Hubbard, Najee Harris, pick 2. I'm going with Brian Thomas Jr., going with Cam Akers as my top 2 there. You'll see here on the next page, I've got Najee and Hubbard we got Najee at 26 and Hubbard at 28. And I had Akers here at 19. So I'm going with that. But then Brian Thomas Jr., he's been impressing. He's actually been kind of the lone bright spot, I would say, for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've got him at 31, but this guy was really high on our Phenom Finder model. So I think he's kind of showing what we thought he could do. And he's got the size, he's got the speed. So I think he can get behind these defenses, help Trevor Lawrence get at least one big playoff this week. So let's rock with Brian Thomas Jr. here. There's some more guaranteed touches from Najee Harris or Chuba Hubbard. Najee does have to split with Jalen Warren, unfortunately, so he won't get the pass catching work. So the upside is lower with Najee. I'm just going for maybe a big game for Brian Thomas Jr. that I don't think is in the range of outcomes for Najee Harris. All right. Good question. So, yeah, let's go just one page back here. And I've got Aaron Jones, who is healthy. So, like what he and his backfield may have been doing. So, Ty Chandler, 82 yards in this last game on 10 carries. Aaron Jones, he had himself a decent outing as well. So I think both these guys can coexist. They're going up against the Texans. Maybe they're trailing, maybe they're not. We've got Justin Jefferson definitely playing. So it seems like other than TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison, we're going to have a healthy Vikings team here. And I think that it could be a shootout. I'm leaning Houston is leading, so it may hurt the running backs, but still, while he's healthy, Aaron Jones has been known to have some explosive games. So I'm going to go with him. Rachaad White really could have an awful game because he's coming off of a groin injury. And let me know if you guys see something change where he ultimately gets a late second scratch or something like that. I've got him in here for right now, but gotta be careful with those guys with that groin injury. He could try to go one play and then he's out for the rest of the game. And then Zach Moss, Cincinnati Bengals, they've been leaning on Moss heavily. All right. So it doesn't look like it's going to be Chase Brown unless there's an injury to Zach Moss. So fire him up. The Washington Commanders, currently 2 games in, have the worst defense in NFL or close to it. So I just expect the Bengals to be winning, and then they're just going to milk the clock with Zach Moss. All right. And then DeAndre Swift here at 23 versus Indy. I've got the Bears getting an upset win here. So I do think they'll have a little bit of a lead. It's going to require a bounce back from Caleb or, maybe a breakout game in the first place from Caleb. But that's what I've got here. He's still got the pass catching upside as well. And then Jerome Ford going up against the Giants. I expect them to have a chance to have a lead here. The only problem was that we did see him lose some of those touches to Donta Foreman. So something to monitor. I think Foreman got 15 carries this past week. So that's really eating into Ford. So I wouldn't, I would say go ahead and put Steele up ahead of Ford. I just want to make sure Steele got his own page here. But yeah, give me Carson Steele, man. This guy, yeah, he was playing a little bit of fullback, but to me, that just means that if the Chiefs are leading, they're going to have no problem running it in at the goal line with Carson Steele. It's not going to be P. Ryan, and it's just those two backs. They were not able to get Kareem Hunt elevated and ready to go in time, so it's just going to be those two guys. And P. Ryan's, a 30-year-old range running back. He just hasn't ever had the role of being the lead back for a sustained period of time. So I'm going to just go with the young guy. Andy Reid said he's going to get the first crack at it. And, this could be a really big game for him. And right now, they're also alluding to maybe Isaiah Pacheco is out for the rest of the season. That's coming from Andy Reid that they're going to determine over the next week whether it's ability for him to come back this season or if Pacheco's done for the year. So we're going to find out, I think, next week. So Steele's got everything to prove as far as motivation is concerned. And I've got Najee Harris. I do think he's got that guaranteed workload, and he'll probably get you 15 points. So fire him up in the flex. Zamir White, if you look at the opponent on the other side, that's why you start Zamir White. But it hasn't been a great start for Zamir White, unfortunately, and that happens. So we're gonna give Zamir White another shot here, and hopefully he can deliver. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough start for Zamir White so far. But just so many, key injury to Derek Brown for the Panthers, and the Panthers are already kind of in a rebuild spot. I just think with the lead and just the opponent he's up against, he's got a shot, but this may be White's last chance for his guys. So let's see if he has a big game. And then his opponent on the other side of the ball, Chuba Hubbard, he should have most of the workload there, but he was ceding some to Miles Sanders. So something to pay attention to. I would say this is also like a kind of final straw week. What we're hoping here is that with Andy Dalton taking over for Bryce Young, that, okay, now this offense is operating a little more smoothly. Just some baseline average quarterback play instead of below average, and that may be able to be the high tide to raise the rest of the ships on this offense. So let's see. Otherwise, we're not going to be starting Hubbard after this week because the Raiders do not have a good run defense. Good pass defense. Crosby will definitely get to get to Dalton, so I'm not starting Dalton. But Hubbard should have some opportunities. The problem is there's just a low touchdown upside, regardless with this team until further notice. Okay, and at 29, we got Devin Singletary going up against the Cleveland team, and could be tough with Miles Garrett on the other end of the ball. This could be really brutal. I don't have a ton of confidence in this team right now. Javonte Williams, got him at 30. Just, haven't seen what I wanted to see from him. I did get 11 touches this past week, but the offense is not great. 17 yards. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't get much worse than that, but I think Swift had maybe a worse game than that. Swift had 14 carries for 18 yards, but other than that, Javonte with only 17 yards, that's pretty brutal. Hard to start him with confidence. So I wouldn't mind just rolling with a Jalen Warren over Javonte or Samaje P. Ryan if you think maybe he's actually the one and it's not Carson Steele who's going to end up scoring the most points. I mean, a lot of these guys. So let me know who you're debating if you've got Javonte Williams. And then here at 31, Jalen Warren, like I mentioned, he's the pass catching guy there. Just hasn't been as potent as in times past. And, again, you have some of the rushing siphoned off by Justin Fields, and then Fields hasn't been crushing as a passer. So, I think Fields hasn't eclipsed 200 yards yet this season. So it's going to be tough for Warren to do anything. And then we got Shamaje. So again, it could be him or Steele. I'm leaning Steele. Zeke Elliott. You could throw in Rico Dowdle. Dowdle did get the start last week, and he had more attempts and yards and all those things. So either one of these guys, you could probably check the Cowboys report and maybe they switched it this week. Um, Eckler actually this past week, I like what we saw from him. So with this game script, potentially them losing, I think it leans actually more in favor of Eckler's skill set than Brian Robinson Jr. So Eckler's still going to have some utility this week. And then with Devonta Foreman, like I mentioned earlier, 15 carries this past week. Now he's going up against the Giants. No, nothing scary there. So throw him in there. And then Alexander Madison also going up against the Carolina Panthers. He was getting a lot more work this past week. So that'll round out the running backs. Let's go ahead and jump into these wide receivers. We got Jamar Chase. And yeah, I got Jamar Chase, number one. I mean, not a crazy surprise, I would hope, but it's going up against the Commanders, one of the worst defenses in the league. That's what I'm expecting to be the big, boost for him because they haven't had great performances so far. So at some point, you need to have a statement game. I think this is that statement game for them. CeeDee Lamb at 2, going up against a tough Baltimore Ravens opponent. We do have Jake Ferguson coming back, so I don't think it'll be as tough as it was last week for him to produce because they were just all over him, that New Orleans defense, just trying to prevent him to get the ball. But the targets are there, obviously. So we're going to keep going with CeeDee Lamb. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, talk about targets. He was the co-target leader this past week. Yeah, 18 targets. He tied with Malik Neighbors for 18 targets this past week, and he had 11 receptions. So Amon-Ra, he could actually be the wide receiver 1 this week. So fire him up. Justin Jefferson looks like he's healthy and good to go. Again, don't have to say too much. You're going up against CJ Stroud, so you're going to need to score some points. Justin Jefferson's going to need to score some points. And Rashee Rice, guys, if things go the right way, man, he's in threat of climbing this leaderboard come week 4. So we're gonna have to pay attention, but this isn't coming out of thin air. They just last week lost Isaiah Pacheco for the season. They have to throw the ball. It's not going to be the Carson Steele show as much as I've got him ranked where I've got him at 25. No, this is Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. It's going to be on them to win the games behind the arm of Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce, as much as I'm going to say here in a little bit that I think the exact same thing I say about Rice, I'm saying about Travis Kelce, that he's going to have to step up. Travis Kelce's already come out with comments saying he hasn't been his best self and he's being hard on himself. So I like to hear that. But no threat of Hollywood Brown coming back. The rest of the season, it's going to be on Rashee Rice's shoulders. He's shown that he's the target getter in this offense. It's not Xavier Worthy. Worthy still needs to develop and grow. So Rashee Rice at 5. And yeah, Nico Collins at 6. Pick your poison here, but Nico Collins, he's just crushing right now. It's really hard to deny what Nico Collins is doing. So you gotta get Collins in your lineups, and that's obvious. 10 targets last week, 135 yards. Guess what? That was the NFL leader this past week in yardage. So Nico Collins has to be one of your top receivers going forward. Get some trades out for this guy, Nico Collins. He's crushing. Hey, what's up, Fizzle? Let's go. Yeah, man, we're dropping the keys, man. I know you guys are probably live over there right now, so appreciate the support. And yeah, everybody, if you got any questions, throw them on in there. We're gonna keep rolling though, because you already know Nico Collins good. Like these first pages, it's always tough. It's like, come on, like you're starting these guys, but I got to get through it. So Devontae Adams, he crushed this past week. That was 12 targets, 9 catches. He's going to continue to get those catches, man, and those targets. That's why even though he's aging like fine wine because the targets have not dwindled at all. It doesn't matter what the quarterback is. Adams is going to get the ball, and the opponent is the Carolina Panthers. So I don't think J.C. Horn or whoever's over there is going to be able to stop him. Brandon Ayuk, he's now I mean, he maybe last year he was a wide receiver one, but this year it looked like it was Debo. Well, Debo's gone and George Kittle's gone. So fire up Brandon Ayuk as a number one wide receiver this week. I think he's going to have all the targets he can handle from Brock Purdy. And there's guys here on this list that had much higher target share last week. Well, it's going to be a big spike this week for Brandon Ayuk. All right, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. versus the Detroit Lions. We saw that breakout game from him last week, but he only had points in the first half of the game. What did he do in the second half? Nothing, because he didn't need to do anything in the second half. But point is, he can get you there in one half of football. He could maybe break fantasy in a full game. It's not going to happen, but if it happens, I'm here for it. So we're starting Marv no matter what. And Tyreek Hill, I'm not benching him as far as it may seem he may need to because he's got no quarterback. Skylar Thompson, the splits for Tyreek Hill getting the ball pass from Thompson versus Tua, there's not a big drop off. So Tyreek can get there. He can get there on any given play, take one to the house from 80 yards out. So we're rocking with Tyreek Hill, and we're not flinching there. Even though he only had 6 points last week, very sadly. But they weren't ready for that. Thompson's got a full week of practice knowing he's a starter. Let's go. All right, Malik Neighbors, already talked about him. 18 targets this past week. So, I mean, for a rookie, that's incredible. That's the co-target leader with Amon-Ra St. Brown. 10 receptions, 127 yards and a touchdown. Yes, it was against the Washington team. I don't care. This is the only hope the Giants have of saving their jobs in the coaching staff and whatever it might be. They're going to need Neighbors all day long. And then DK Metcalf, he went out here and balled last week too. 14 targets, 10 catches. Sure, that may fluctuate week to week. 129 yards and a touchdown. JSN had a little bit of an emergence. We'll see who gives. I just think Metcalf's role is solidified. They need him. He's got that unmatched speed. So we're going with DK Metcalf here. I think he's got a great opportunity to just go out there and crush it again. But I think after this week and next, we're going to have a really good feel on what he is because I want him to be consistent. So let's get a little bit of consistency out of DK Metcalf. And I'm ready to go, man. So, all right, we'll go ahead and jump into our next group here and go into the 13 on group. All right, so let's do it. We've got Devonta Smith going up against New Orleans. There's no AJ Brown. We've got pretty much him as the only target, but we saw some other guys on this team step up at least for them. So it's not like no one else is going to get any targets, but Smith is going to be heavily relied upon. I saw some missed catches and missed opportunities for him in this past game that he definitely could have capitalized on. What's up, Dynasty Rehab? No, you're not late, man. The full injury report just came out 30 minutes ago, so let me know if you got any start sit questions. If someone got a late second scratch or whatever it might be, I got you. All right, Zay Flowers. Yeah, Zay Flowers. I'm excited for him. He's yes, I overreacted a little bit. Last week Isaiah Likely had him really high, but Zay Flowers is consistently that target guy on the Ravens. 11 targets this past week, only 7 catches, but 91 yards and a touchdown. And they're going to need to absolutely scratch and claw for everything they can get this next week, or excuse me, today against the Dallas Cowboys because they're 0-2. And this is almost uncharted territory for the Ravens, but it definitely will be if they lose this game. So they're going to be hungry. They got to win this game. And then Chris Godwin, he's been balling back, back to form with Baker Mayfield going up against the Denver Broncos. They should have Patrick Surtain on Mike Evans, and I don't think the number 2 is ready for Godwin. So let's fire up Chris Godwin. I've got Chris Olave next going up against the Eagles. This offense has been great. In this past week, Olave got more involved, so I'm happy to see that. So let's hope Olave just gets even more, and it just keeps increasing week to week, and then we we kind of get the Chris Godwin that we've always been wanting to see. And then after that, I've got Mike Evans going up against Denver. So I already mentioned that. I think he's going to have a tough DB matchup on the other end of the field, but he's a beast. So we're not too worried about Mike Evans. We're going to start him. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, this is a guy where we want this week to basically show that, okay, he is now ahead of Tyler Lockett. We saw last week, and he definitely was. I just want to see that consistency. So I've got him here at 18. But really, at 19, Jameson Williams, I'd much rather start him. And I feel a little bit more confident because for 2 weeks in a row, Jameson Williams has been, getting a ton of targets. 11 targets this week or week 2. That's pretty good. When Amon-Ra was also the target leader in the NFL, 9 targets week 1 for Jameson Williams, and then again 11 this week. So that's 20 targets over the past 2 weeks. That's pretty significant. Problem is he has the worst catch rate of anyone that I've discussed so far. He only had 5 catches on 11 targets this past week, but 79 yards. So the explosiveness is there. He has one of the highest yards per reception of anyone that we're talking about at 15.8. So I'm really excited about Jameson Williams. Our Dynasty Rehab says the JMO of the last 2 weeks is the JMO we saw in college. Yes. In college, he was that guy. So, yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra is going to be the guy here, but JMO, this is what they need to win the Super Bowl. If you have this as your number 2 and he's delivering like this, this is why you're not seeing as many big games from Sam Laporta. So absolutely fire up Jameson Williams. And yeah, I do have him over DJ Moore. And it's just because with Caleb Williams, we just got to let this guy grow. They put the team around him to help Caleb Williams get better. It's not about the receivers and all of that. It's about just making sure Caleb is good. 10 targets for DJ Moore, 6 catches, 53 yards. Just an okay game. And that game was supposed to be a shootout versus the Texans last week and couldn't get it done. It should be a shootout here, I would think, with Indy. I do think the Bears D ends up helping them win the game. But that's where I got Moore for now. And I actually believe in Rashid Shaheed more than DJ Moore. But got him here. Rashid Shaheed, guys, just put some respect on his name. Rashid Shaheed needs to be in all lineups. This guy is leading the NFL for multiple seasons in deep catches. So this is just a guy who's really explosive. What a steal for the Saints. I believe this guy was undrafted. So um, I love this guy, man. He's got the need for speed, man. So start Rashid. And it looks like I got a duplicate on here with JSN. Sorry about that. George Pickens at 23. Man, Fields has actually been able to get some good balls thrown to Pickens' way. But it's just been kind of few and far between. But the accuracy seems to be there. It's just more of the play calling. It seems like they're just trying to hold back Fields a little bit, which I kind of understand. But I've still got Pickens here. Really talented guy. I think he can be a huge riser as the season goes on, and definitely into next year. And then Drake London versus the Chiefs. So that should be a shootout. So that's really why I've got London there. But he really just barely saved his day last week, right at the last moment possible. Less than a minute left. So if it wasn't for that, Drake London would have had a lot worse of a game, unfortunately. So I'm still a little nervous about London. The potential's there. He's got a quarterback, but we just we need more receptions. We need a lot more from Drake London. So all right, next page here, Xavier Worthy. So here, Dynasty Rehab, what's going on, man? Pickens has been better than his stat line. A couple of penalties from his teammates cost him a bigger game. Yeah. I think like 100 yards of penalties at least, which is crazy in 2 games. So yeah, Pickens has a lot more potential than we're able to see. So it's too late to buy low or whatever. As far as right ahead of today's game, but I'm still in on Pickens. Think he can have a much bigger season. And then Xavier Worthy, with him, it's the running back scenario for the Chiefs. I think, remember week 1 where Worthy's getting those jet sweeps and just kind of some easy stuff for him, just to get acclimated to the league. Well, Now I think they need to do that just because they're running out of running backs. So this could actually hurt a steal. That's fine. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to be firing up Worthy wherever I've got him pretty much every week just for the variance. But I think it's starting to make more sense now that the running game is a little bit more depleted than it had been. So Xavier Worthy here at 25, Stephon Diggs at 26, and it's hard to have Diggs lower than Worthy because Diggs has been playing well, but the yardage hasn't been there, and really, I feel like it's been more touchdowns that he's been getting. So we're gonna hope he just continues to get those touchdowns. And in this game specifically, even though it's one team removed, it's still a revenge game for Diggs versus the team that drafted him in Minnesota. So we're gonna see a Diggs touchdown, I think, in this one. At 27, I've got Amari Cooper going up against the Giants. So that could that could be an easy game for the Browns to kind of get right. And if they win this game, they'd be 2-1, and they kind of be feeling good about themselves. So this isn't a team that Cooper is afraid of. He used to play for the Cowboys, has played against the Giants many times. So I think they got this game. Should be a good spot for Cooper because, to be honest, the targets have been there. I don't know why it's not translating. You kind of have to blame the quarterback in that spot. So yeah, Mari Cooper, 8 targets this past game, only 3 catches for 11 yards. That might be the worst receiving stat line I've heard so far. So, um, pretty brutal. Okay, and then Calvin Ridley, he had a good game this past week. So let's hope they can keep it going. I'm just so nervous with this quarterback, man, Will Levis. But he's throwing the ball. The volume is going to be there. So get Ridley in the lineups. Tank Dell. I'm always going to believe in Tank Dell to have a big game, but it's not going to be every week. It is going to be this week, though. It's going to be one of these weeks. Maybe it's actually the next home game, but because I'm thinking maybe they just give the ball to Diggs, just force feed him because of the revenge narrative. But Dell's going to have one of these big games. It's not going to be all the time. He is one of those guys you kind of have to just throw in the flex. But like I don't mind putting him in over. I'm gonna leave him where I've got him, but maybe you put Waddle in ahead of him just since Waddle's the number 2. I say even with Skylar Thompson, Waddle, he's also like Tyreek Hill where he can take any play to the house. So yeah, it was just such a tough switch over from Tua. But I think with the coaching and everything, Waddle should be fine. And then at 31, Brian Thomas Jr. He's growing, he's getting better, and it looks like they're going to need to lean on him. They don't have Evan Ingram. We haven't seen what we needed to from Christian Kirk, so I'm rocking with Brian Thomas Jr. like I mentioned in the comment earlier. And then we got to return to T. Higgins. I think Higgins probably has a shot to at least be ahead of Tank Dell here. I could see Higgins being ahead of all of these guys, going up to 25 here. We just haven't seen him. Sounds like he's healthy. And who knows? It could have been just, an extended hold in because he wanted his contract. I'm not sure. No need to speculate. He's playing this week versus one of the worst defenses in the league. So you do have to get Higgins in the lineup somehow, some way. Just get him in there. Shouldn't be too hard. Get him in there. And Michael Pittman Jr., he just got the healthy injury designation, but he was banged up all week. And he just hasn't been getting the work. And we have a Josh Downs returning this week from his own injury. Alec Pierce is like wide receiver 8 because he's just getting all the work. I don't think that'll continue, but that's a completely different game style. So Pierce is separate. However, where Josh Downs occupies the field is the kind of the similar area to Michael Pittman at times. I can just see with the struggles Anthony Richardson's having, they might just say, hey, let's at least give him some easy throws. Let's mix in some plays to get his confidence where we need to. So Michael Pittman Jr. got a little bit lower than I thought he would have been coming into the season. I mean, back-to-back with Demarcus Robinson, but Demarcus Robinson right now is the wide receiver 1. Maybe it's Tyler Johnson. So I guess you decide there. I just really liked what Demarcus Robinson did in the last 4 games of 2023. And now he's in a much higher elevated position. Of course, when you get the number 1 coverage from the San Francisco 49ers, it's going to be tough. We'll see if he can handle that, but I think he'll get plenty of targets So it's on him if he can deliver. And Jerry Judy, I mean, he quietly has been okay, if we're being honest. So no reason to sleep on Judy. I think he's just kind of a lock for some points. And whether that's 10, whatever. I think he's just in a situation where he should definitely be able to score, and it got a good matchup here. And then I've got Roma Dunze at 36. And I'll be honest, he's healthy. Week 1, Keenan Allen didn't get the ball, right? So, or excuse me, Keenan Allen was like getting the ball too much. A ton of targets for Keenan Allen week 1. What was it? Crazy amount of targets. So I think, yeah, 11 targets for Keenan Allen week 1. You've got no Keenan Allen here. Maybe 8 targets for Roma Dunze. I'm just trying to get one more upside guy here that we haven't seen had that breakout game like we saw Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. have this past week. Don't forget to get Roma Dunze in one of your flex spots. So, all right, that is the wide receiver position. And we're going to move on to last couple here with tight end. I got Brock Bowers as the tight end 1, and he's a tight end 1 going forward. The guy is just crushing not just tight ends, but most receiver type players are all getting obliterated by Brock Bowers. So he's just absolutely killing it. Love to see what Brock Bowers is already doing at such a young age. So just get this man in your lineups and set it and forget it. You don't have to even worry about it. And this week he happens to be going against Carolina. So I think they're just going to continue to use Brock Bowers, whether it's a part of the run game or the pass game. This guy is just an absolute weapon for these Vegas Raiders. And then McBride, just like him and his connection with Kyler Murray, McBride's the number 2 target for the Arizona Cardinals. So got him at the 2 spot. Sam Laporta, still waiting for a big bounce back from Laporta. Maybe comes this week in this matchup between these 2 top tight ends. And then at 4, I've got Travis Kelce. And again, he's going to have to pick up some of the slack with there being no run game, right? So Travis Kelce got him comfortably at 4. Mark Andrews at 5 has some competition from Likely, but really Likely is more of a wide receiver 2 on the Ravens. So it's Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and Likely is basically a wide receiver. So I got Andrews at 5 here. Dalton Kincaid is 6. We still haven't seen him just become the solidified number 1 target in this offense, but no one has. So with the tight end landscape the way it is, Kincaid's right here at 6, young with some upside and a good quarterback and a good offense with touchdown opportunity. You got to go Dalton Kincaid there. Kyle Pitts, this game should be a shootout against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I got Kyle Pitts here. Come on, man. Let's do it, Pitts. Kyle Pitts, do something for me. Let's go. All right, Jake Ferguson here. He's healthy. He's back. So let's get Jake Ferguson in the lineup because there's not a lot of options at the tight end position. We know that. So get him in your lineup, and we will see how that goes from there. And then at the 9 spot, I've got Dallas Goedert. Again, no AJ Brown. We've got Dallas Goedert picking up the number 2 role duties. And again, there's other guys there. I'm forgetting the guy's name, Akovi, I think. He had 6 for 6 targets and receptions. So there's other guys stepping up in that offense. But for tight end wise, Goddard's the top 2 target here. Likely some weeks top 2 targets, some weeks he's number 3 targets. Versus Dallas, it's a tough matchup. I think likely is going to be top 10 most weeks, top 12 most weeks, because with Pat Freiermuth, I just don't trust the quarterback play. Fields just isn't. There's not enough yards going around in this offense, so you just got Freiermuth here hoping for a touchdown. Zach Ertz has been tough for Jaden Daniels to get the ball to Terry McLaurin. Ertz has been doing well. Probably has more points than McLaurin at this point. So somehow in 2024, Zach Ertz is your top 12 tight end for week 3. And let's go into week 13. Number 13, Mike Gesicki, and he would have been much higher. Had to downgrade him because, T. Higgins is coming back, but still going up against the Washington team. So I think he'll be fine. But Gesicki's had one of the highest target shares the most target volume of most of these tight ends. So he's just kind of a lock based on the position. And Kobe Parkinson, one of the last healthy remaining receiving options for Matt Stafford. Tough matchup, but locking him into here. Dalton Schultz, he's just so far down the pecking order, but still a really good offense. Maybe he gets lucky with the touchdown. Jonnu Smith kind of came back, looked good this past week, and then lost to a. It's just hard to have a lot of confidence. Their only chance to win is to go through Tyreek, Waddle, Achan. It's not going to be Jonnu Smith, but we will watch this. If Smith does what he did last week, then we're just going to have to probably move him into top 12 going forward. Cole Kmet, it's getting a little tougher. He's probably the third target right now with the injuries. Chico Conquo, uh, Will Levis is throwing a ton of volume, and Conquo looked good. So this past week, so rocking with Chig here. Juwan Johnson, we did get the news that Taysom Hill's out. So with Taysom out, I think we're gonna go ahead and just elevate Juwan Johnson. Maybe it's Foster Moreau. We'll see. Ethan B in the chat. Who goes in the super flex? Kyron, Darnold, Minshew. Darnold. With Kyron, I'm a little worried that they're going to be losing. It's not going to be a run heavy game script. And look, if you got Kyron on your team, he's not doing what you thought he was going to do based on last year. I think he's got max points in one given week. He's got 15 last week and 14 the week before. So that's where he's been living. And this is the toughest defense he's going to have to face all year. So I'm just going to go with the quarterback in this spot. And yeah, I know Minshew's playing against the Panthers. I'm going Darnold. Darnold, 6 of his 9 last games, he's had an above 100 QBR. He's playing great right now. He's got Justin Jefferson, and I'm rocking with Darnold here. All right, and then Pete, should I drop Tyjae Spears or Isaiah Likely for Jake Ferguson? Likely starting for me right now. You drop Spears for Isaiah Likely, or excuse me, for Jake Ferguson. You got to pick up Ferguson right now, ASAP. So pick up Ferguson. If I'm dropping Spears, I'm holding Likely because I think he's a top target on that team. But yeah, we know if Pollard goes down, Spears is going to be that top pickup. So if you really want to stash those running backs, I get where your head's at. I'm just a big believer in Likely. So for me, I'm going to keep both those tight ends. And if those are your only two, then I'm rocking with those two all season long. All right. And then 20, Tucker Kraft. Okay. Tucker Kraft seems like he's moving into that tight end one for the Green Bay Packers role. So I've got him here. We're just hoping for a touchdown. Um, I'm I would probably want to lower Kraft just until Love comes back. Last week, guys, Greg Dulcich had 8 targets, but only 3 catches and only like 17 yards. So it's like the targets are there, but this team is not getting it done on offense. It's brutal. They're desperate for targets, but it's just not working. So, and then we got Noah Fant, good offense, but he's buried as a 4th option. Juwan Johnson. Somehow I duplicated on 2 of those there. So Brenton Strange, he's elevated for Evan Ingram. Yeah, I was trying to change these rankings right as I was getting some news here. So let's go ahead and move on to the next position. And it just had got some quarterback questions. So I'll just skip to the back end here. I had Minshew at 19 and Sam Darnold at 14. So back for Ethan there. And then play Likely or Ferguson. Yeah, I'm playing Ferguson. That's for sure. Yeah, Ferguson I've used the number 2 target on the Cowboys. While Ferguson was out, it was Jalen Tolbert. But prior to that, Tolbert had never done anything on the Cowboys. So I'm going to go back to Jake Ferguson, who just in the playoffs had a 3 TD game. This is a very trusted target for Dak Prescott. So I'm going Ferguson here over Likely. But glad you got him. That's a steal. Someone must have been like, well, he's injured, so forget him. Well, now he's not injured. He only was out for 1 week, so get him in your lineup. All right. And then yeah, back to Ethan. Yeah, so yeah, this is where I've got Darnold at 14, Minshew at 19. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that there. Take Darnold in that spot. And then just to start from the beginning here, Josh Allen, he proves that he's just going to continue to be the quarterback one. So not too much to say there. And then Jalen Hurts, just like I said with Barkley, that was one catch away from a much bigger day. So I've got Hurts here, who's able to get it done on the ground and in the air. And even without AJ Brown, the points were in the 20 range, and he's again that missed pass that could have been a huge difference for just how we looked at him coming into this week. So I'm not going to let that sway me. I'm rocking with Hurts at the 2 spot. Lamar Jackson does have to go up against a tough defense, but this guy is going to probably come out like he did week 1 against the Chiefs. Is super desperate to win this game. So if Henry's not getting it going, Lamar's going to be like, nope, my turn, my ball, let's go. So we're going with Lamar Jackson at the 3 spot. Kyler Murray looks like he's making a case for, I'll say a quarterback 2. Maybe he can get a quarterback 1 after that last game. Let me see it multiple games in a row, like a Josh Allen first. But I've got Kyler Murray here at 4. He's looking great this season. Jaden Daniels. So the trend is obviously rushing quarterbacks here in the top 5. Jaden Daniels, not a great week last week. So we saw him and Richardson kind of have a step back in week 2. But I'm going to just go back to the well. I'm not here predicting how many times they're going to run because Jaden Daniels running like 15 times a game. I'm going to take that from our quarterback. And then Pat Mahomes, he's Pat Mahomes. We're going to move on because there's just a little more certainty there versus going Richardson, who is having issues passing. He is gaining a weapon, Anthony Richardson is. He's gaining Josh Downs. I think that will help him with the completion percentage. But the Bears D might be one of the best in the league. So it's going to be a tough game. I'm expecting at least 1 rushing touchdown. I got CJ Stroud here as well. It's just hard to start him over these rushing options. And I view him and Mahomes similarly. So I've got him here at the 8 spot. Dak Prescott, I just feel like he has fewer targets than a CJ Stroud. But Dak has been good. I'm not too worried about Dak, especially getting Jake Ferguson back in the lineup. And then at 10, Baker Mayfield, he's been balling and really boosting a lot of the players on the Tampa Bay Bucks. And they're going up against a Denver Broncos team that I just don't think is going to stop Baker. So, Baker's just got that leadership at this point. He's going to get it done, whatever it takes. And really in the past, the problems, we were not getting the points from Baker, but it looks like it's just working with this Tampa Bay team. So let's hope he can keep it going. I don't blame you if you guys put Joe Burrow ahead of ahead of Baker Mayfield because Burrow's playing against Washington. Should be an easy matchup for them. I'm expecting Burrow to go off this game. So wherever you want Burrow, that's not ahead of Richardson, and I can see it actually him scoring more than Richardson. I'm expecting a 30-point game for Burrow today, guys. All right, Derek Carr, basically number 1 quarterback in fantasy, but he's probably like been top 5 right now. It's hard to buy in fully, but I love Rashid Shaheed. They've barely been using Chris Olave, and they're doing what they're doing, and he can just dump off the ball to Kamara as much as he wants to. His multiple seasons, Kamara's a target leader for RBs, so there's plenty of weapons. Yeah, they're missing a Taysom Hill, but they haven't been like swapping Hill and Carr out at the quarterback position. So there's really no change other than he's lost a tight end target or maybe a running back option. But Jamal Williams has looked better this year than last year. So I don't think they're missing anything from Taysom Hill. And both Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau were actually the 2 top 5 tight ends in week 1. So point is they can probably survive without Taysom Hill this week. So I've got Carr here, not too worried about the missing 1 player out of the lineup. And in the 13th spot, I've got Jared Goff going up against Arizona. Good weapons on the team, so just hoping he can get more than 2 touchdowns. It's hasn't been happening a ton. Goff does not have a lot of upside, unfortunately. No rushing ability, but it is possible they could get 3 touchdowns, and that would make his day. But he kind of needs 3 touchdowns to matter for the most part versus a lot of these other players. Sam Darnold, he's been playing great, as I mentioned earlier. this should be a shootout versus Houston. He's got Justin Jefferson. Just feed him the ball, and he'll get another 75-yard touchdown for you. Geno Smith, tons of weapons on that team. So just keep doing what he's doing. He's had 17 points a game in both of his first two games. So let's keep that going. Brock Purdy, did get demoted because he lost two of his main targets there. So this will be a big test. I was on a show recently with Fizzle, and he was saying that Bryce Young's better than Brock Purdy. I disagree because ultimately you can't go back in time and put Purdy on the Panthers and go back in time and put Bryce Young on the 49ers because they were saying, oh, if you put Bryce on the 49ers, like he's going to do X, Y, Z. Well, it's not going to happen because Brock Purdy's already learned so many lessons from Kyle Shanahan. Those are not going to leave him. He is now a better quarterback than he walked in as Mr. Relevant. He's a much better quarterback, but it's going to be a good test to see what Brock Purdy really is. He still got Ayuk, still got the GOAT Jordan Mason back there. And Juwan Jennings not bad either. I'm actually wondering, do we see Terrace Marshall do anything? Like, if we don't see Terrace Marshall do anything this game, it's over for him, unfortunately. But that could be a deep, deep sleeper, maybe. All right, Justin Fields, just here for the rushing upside, but he has not been able to leverage it. I think he's capping out at 13 points per game. It's just not what you expect from a rushing quarterback. It seems impossible, but the passing volume is so low. He hasn't cracked 200 yards yet. So we got him at 17. We know he could easily be ahead of Goff for sure. That's not even a question. So I'm starting Fields in most spots. I'm just not going to watch that game. Okay. And then we've got 18 here. So if you want Watson without Njoku, that's fine. I think, like I said earlier, Jerry Jeudy has shown that he can help and contribute to this roster. Mark Cooper's been getting the targets, but the accuracy hasn't been there. The connection hasn't been there for whatever reason. But it's just an easy matchup, so they should be able to produce here. But I think just like with Goff, at this point, we need multiple passing touchdowns for Watson. He did get some rushing goal line work, so that is in the cards. We'll see. Devonta Foreman's workload did increase this past week, so that's kind of a factor where maybe there's less rushing work for Watson after all. We'll see. Gardner Minshew just has too easy of a matchup. Again, that defense is struggling, not even just the baseline Panthers defense, but they have had some injuries that are very significant. I think Minshew just target Devontae Adams, get that ball off to whatever the running back is, or they're passing it to Alexander Madison or handing it off. I think they should be able to take care of these guys. But I do think maybe if he gets out of hand, he's not asked to do too much later. We'll see about that. All right, and then it mainly because the kind of the weakness for the Raiders right now has been their run game. So they may still ask Minshew to keep pushing it and just make sure they ice this thing. All right, and then at 20, we got Kirk Cousins. Really good comeback for them last week. He could be higher here. He's going to have to throw the ball to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Trevor Lawrence, he's not scoring enough fantasy points, guys. I don't know what's going on. This is going to be a tough matchup. This has been brutal for Trevor Lawrence. This is brutal. And Caleb Williams, the same. Not great, but you got to bank on a little bit of first overall upside here and the coaching staff to just get it done. I think that hot seat's going to be getting hot if Caleb can't get it together here pretty soon. Maybe it is tough without having Keenan Allen there, but man, the points have not been there. He hasn't cracked 10 points yet for fantasy, so it's just a tough spot, especially if you got him in redraft. And I've got Stafford here who doesn't have any of his usual cast of characters in the passing game. But he can sling it, and he's got at least a couple other guys that I feel confident in. It's going to be tough because Stafford, again, doesn't run. You need 3 touchdowns from him for it to matter. So I'm pretty low on Stafford this week. I don't think they get there. Justin Herbert, he hasn't been delivering. They're saying he's healthy. Came into the year with the plantar fasciitis concerns, but supposedly he was healthy. But this is a run first team. J.K. Dobbins is running all over the place. Not only is he running all over the place, he's not even volume wise running a ton. He's just breaking loose for 40-yard runs and big gains, chunk yards. So they're just being efficient and winning these games, and so they just can continue to run. So not expecting Herbert to be asked to do too much. So yeah, I think Herbert's down here, but I know that he's always got one of those big games in him. So I'm gonna go ahead and just still hold out a little bit of hope for Justin Herbert. And it does get a little bit more bleak after that. So, guys, uh, good luck in your matchups this week. I'm gonna check one more time for any crazy injury news. Let me know if you got any other last minute questions. But that was my rankings for this week. I just got a question: P Ryan or Foreman? So let's go back over here. I might already have it up right here. So P Ryan, I got a 32, Foreman at 35. I'm still nervous about it, but there's still a chance where P Ryan ends up being the better option than Carson Steele. And man, I love this matchup for Foreman, but I think I'm gonna go P Ryan here. So, hope I don't regret that one. Okay, let me see any other ones. Any other crazy injury news? All right. Yeah, I'm just seeing, just the stuff you guys have already seen. So, no last second hamstrings being pulled in practice right now and warm ups. So cool, guys. Hey, good luck this week. All right. Uh, go win your league. All right, you got this. I believe we're gonna make it happen. And it's still early, so no need to panic quite yet. And come back next week, like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching. And I'll be back with another video tomorrow. And again, good luck this week. See ya.